Tony Vitello almost went to Texas A&M, but he didn't. I don't think this was ever a real discussion or a thought in Tony Vitello's mind. I think it's a compliment, as you mentioned earlier, Caleb, for Texas A&M to say, we just lost Schlossie. What are we going to do? Need to go get the big Va. And they tried that. They weren't able to do it. And it sounds like it went absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. This was just an attempt to get him. I don't blame them at all. It wouldn't, Tony Vitello's dating habits wouldn't gross people out the way Schlossie's dating habits would gross people out. But
only person I've seen you hug is his dad.
Exactly. Well, he did, as Greg McElroy said, he was very embarrassing with his behavior celebrating with Tennessee fans last week winning the national championship, Dave.
I was ashamed for him.
It was so shameful. He should have acted like he'd been there because, as Alabama fans let us know, Bear Bryant invented that quote because Alabama invented everything according to them. But
let me ask you this. What do you think it says about Vitello that he would turn down Texas A&M? Because I wrote this column. Tony Vitello is worth more than Tennessee can pay him, okay? Because it's a non-revenue sport. It's a sport that is going to be involved with all sports, and that's revenue sharing. So there's going to be less football television money to throw at non-revenue sports. And my question is, was that a smart move by Tony Vitello to turn down A&M that has more oil money than you could possibly ever imagine?
I think I honestly think Tony Vitello was offered a comparable salary to stay at Tennessee. He's got a great program he's running. And most importantly, I mean, I'll say this much with coaches, Dave. Coaches move a lot. And, you know my opinion on the vast majority of coaches in sports. But I will say with the work-life balance they have, if we got a good situation, I think a lot of them don't want to move, honestly. I think a lot of them are happy. I mean, Tony Vitello seems happy in Knoxville. He is beloved in Knoxville. Why would he get rid of all of that? Why would he throw any of that away for... I doubt there's a significant pay change. I'm sure Tennessee can match whatever A&M offered him.
But what about long term? Wouldn't you think that A&M would be able to offer more money? Because, I mean, they are like the third or fourth biggest athletic department. It's not double, but it's close to double what Tennessee is in their athletic department. I mean, long term, don't you think you'd make more money as an Aggie if you're successful?
I don't think so. I think Tennessee's willing to shell out. Tennessee has the largest NIL collective possible. So they're able to shell out more money to pay coaches than a lot of other schools because of that. And so I honestly think Tennessee is able to match. And I think if the difference is minimal or minuscule, look, I think Tony Vitello is very happy where he's at. And here's the other part, Dave. If Tony Vitello is thinking long-term, he's thinking about the majors, maybe getting a major league job.
Okay, you said that last week. I want to share my thoughts on that real quick, if I may.
Okay.
I would hate that because I think Tony Vitello is a great manager of the game. I think he's also a great coach. And when I say coach, I mean more player development. Whether it's Christian Moore or whoever, they all got better, right, when they were at Tennessee. So I think he's a good coach. But I also think he's a good manager. And I thought about what you said last week, that he'd be good in the major leagues. And he'd be good doing whatever he wanted to do. If he started a landscaping business, Tony Vitello is going to be good at it. Can we agree on that?
Yep.
But I think a good part of his skill set would be wasted as a manager in the major leagues because the GM is basically the one who tells you what to do nowadays in the major leagues. I'm not sure how much of a major league fan you are, but there are calls made from the office upstairs to say it's time to pull that pitcher. It's such an analytics game that I feel like you would take a good bit of the fun away from Tony Vitello and a good bit of what he's good at. I think
you misunderstood what I said last week.
Okay.
I think general manager is his calling in the majors. I think that's what he's looking for, not being a manager.
But then you miss the other half, which is the good coach and developer.
There's no such thing as coaching in baseball anymore. You don't do anything. You sit in a uniform and blow bubbles on your bubble gum.
No. That's not player development and coaching and teaching somebody to hit and and all of that is something. That is something huge.
It's minuscule now. Assembling all that matters now is talent evaluation and roster development. That's where Tony Vitello is great. That is 97.8% of being a good coach in college baseball right now, is just identifying the right players and getting them to your program.
Well, it's not 97%, for the love of all that's holy. That means that you could be a complete buffoon in the rest of it. I mean, if
yes,
you want,
you can. You absolutely can.
You can't. If you want to go with a realistic number, I mean, give me a realistic number. It's not
That's the realistic number. I don't care about your ability to manage at all in baseball. As long as you're not an imbecile, okay? So,
but 97.5, you're painting the picture for a potential imbecile. But no, I think
assembling is all that matters in baseball.
I firmly believe that you're missing a lot here. I believe you're missing player development. I also believe you're missing managing young men, which you have to get them in the right mindset. Now, you don't have to do that in the majors. They should be in the right mindset. They're pros, right? I mean, I guess they're pros now in college. But I think having your guys in the right mindset, which Tennessee was headed into the College World Series, despite a loss in the second game, I thought they had the right mindset of the finals. I think you're devaluing that. I think you're undervaluing a lot of that. Now, maybe you're saying it wouldn't be evident or necessary at the major leagues, which is true, but I wouldn't devalue what he does as far as team chemistry and developing players.
You see, sometimes we oversell developing when if you just sign better players, you're going to because people have been talking about this for Tony Vitello for years. This is why John Curry hired him. His career as an assistant at Arkansas. He turned all these players into major league players. Yes, because he was getting top 15 recruiting classes every year. Guess what? The number of pro players you produce, Dave, is mostly about the ranking of the recruiting classes you sign, not the players you develop. So I'm saying if you sign top 15 recruiting classes every year, you're going to be in the top 15 in players drafted in the pros every year. It's that simple. And I'm just saying that Tony Vitello is the best at.
By your argument, okay, does Tennessee ever have Jalen Hyatt?
Does Jalen Hyatt ever get drafted, or does Tennessee ever have him?
Well, Tennessee didn't go for him because what was he rated at the time?
No, he was a 4-star. He was pretty highly touted.
Was it who was the 3-star? Was it Tillman?
Tillman was the 2-star. Yeah. Well, that's why I said.
Well, there are no 2-stars. That's Rivals not evaluating because they're running out of manpower. But anyway, by your argument, there's no Tillman.
Well, hold on. No, because it's different in baseball than football. They don't have the same. There's not the same level of research done on these athletes. So you have to do a lot of the evaluation yourself. I'm saying Tony Vitello, as an evaluator of talent, is the best evaluator of talent in all of baseball. That's his biggest skill set. And here's what I'm trying to say. Because I'm trying to get back to the Texas A&M point. I don't think it's worth it for him to leave for Texas A&M if he's gunning for a GM job in the majors. Because
I don't think he's gunning for a GM job in the majors.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute if he's committed to Tennessee or not long term. I'm just saying in general, from a money perspective, you're talking about the money Texas A&M can offer. Yes, but it could also, if you are gunning for a bigger job money-wise in the majors at all, Texas A&M would cost you to get there. So if you're just thinking about money, then you wouldn't go to Texas A&M because Tennessee's still a better situation for you if you are trying to promote yourself up a ladder and get to the major somehow. Texas A&M could push you back.
Yeah, but would you agree with me that he's a college coach? I mean, he's not. You don't think he's going to the majors, whether or not you think it's a good idea. I mean, he doesn't feel like that to me at all. Does he? Do you?
I don't think. You keep saying coach. I don't think there's much coaching in baseball. I just don't.
Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree with that. Whether it's coach or manager, he feels like a college guy to me.
Do you honestly think Joe Torre was a good manager, or could anybody have won the World Series with the Yankees?
I'm asking you. Do you feel like he's a college guy, or do you feel like he's got his eyes on the pros? Because I think he feels like a college guy, regardless of how much coaching is involved.
I think he's a college guy right now because he's younger. I think as he gets a little bit older, maybe he wants less on his plate.
Oh Lord,
And
yes. If he's 65, yes. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, so I think
yeah, I would. Yeah, if he's 65, I would probably be a little worried right now. You know, you got your championship in your back pocket, and you might just go on and do something else, or start your own baseball school or whatever. Yes,
I think what's going to
if he were
happen.
20 years older, that would concern me.
Here's what we don't know: is Tony Vitello dating anybody? You know what I mean? And maybe he's not. I don't. He doesn't have any kids, does he?
No, I don't believe so. He has 2 sisters and a brother, I believe.
So what if Tony Vitello decides to like settle down, turns 50, becomes an old dad, something like that? Then you could look at the vibe of maybe I'd rather be a GM and in Major League Baseball where I don't have to do all of this traveling and work. Look, guys,
and I'm sorry, I don't know that he has a couple of sisters and a brother. I was looking up stats for Christian Moore that somebody asked on the message board. Let me retract that statement. Go ahead, Caleb.
Tony Vitello, guys, y'all forget this. He's from St. Louis. Okay, I don't know. We should all know this. I don't know if people are as aware of how much of like a baseball town St. Louis is more than anywhere else. Just so you guys know that we did a study on this one time at an old place I was at. In most places across the country, in let's say predominantly African-American cities, you go to the hoods, they're all playing basketball. St. Louis is the one city, Dave, they're still playing baseball. And like the predominantly African-American neighborhoods, they are playing baseball more than any. That's how much of a baseball town. The life, like everything there is Cardinal based. Okay. So like becoming a GM of the Cardinals is like the most dream job for a born and raised St. Louis kid.
Again, 20 years, you and I are, I may not be around, but 20 years from now, you and I are a lot closer. At 45, I think you would want to ride this thing out. I think you and I would agree that going to A&M or really going anywhere, but specifically A&M and the turnover they just had, they've already had like 5 guys leave school in the transfer portal. That would be the absolute worst move you could make. I could see that being a career killer. You could go there, struggle because you've got to rebuild this whole roster. And then before you know it, you're not making the College World Series in year 3, you're fired, and you're the head baseball coach at Temple. It would be career suicide. It wouldn't be career suicide because he's a great coach. But if he stumbled, he would look back at it with great regret. That's the best way to put it?
That's the best way to put it. That's exactly what would happen, and that's why he wasn't going to leave for A&M. That's why I said if he's doing anything, he's going to try to move up to the majors. He's not leaving Tennessee for another college because Tennessee can make competitive offers for him. And
yeah, I don't see your majors connection, but we're on the same page that I don't think he's going to leave for another. I think we're on the same page. He's not going to leave for another college job. Correct?
Correct.